Hi, welcome to Potluck Politics. Again, I'm Peter Roper, and we're lucky to have a guest today, Joe Delacruz. Thank you very much for joining us, Joe.
Thanks for having me.
He's running for the 41st District to be representative to the State Legislature. And I appreciate the fact you're here, and I'd like you to just talk a little bit about why you're doing this, because it's not a popular job right now to be in the legislature.
It's not popular. It's not fun, I guess, but for not everybody. But my district really covers two towns that I adore. Mm-hmm. I grew up in New London. Was born in Germany. Came here after 3 weeks old. My father was in the service. Army brat.
Okay.
Yep. So from 3 weeks on to I was 25 years old, I lived in New London, and actually got dragged out of New London because I followed a girl way over here to Groton. Which was very interesting because my life was not easy. Bringing a young son to a wrestling practice to a New London high school gym, and I was wearing black and red. I think we spoke a little earlier about that. And so the we don't want to call it animosity. We call it competitive spirit between two towns. But really, this has come to be my hometown too, my second hometown. After 20 years, I can tell you I love Groton, but I'm always a whaler, I guess. So it's almost like the district was carved out for me. Yeah,
we talked about how we think that the towns that really are connected, and there's a good reason for them both to be represented by somebody, because there are a lot of interesting issues that affect them both. And you were on the Groton Town Council and on the RTM, so people may recognize you from that. So you're moving up, and you should probably describe what the 41st district is, because it is broken up between two towns, and some people may not know what district they're even in. So,
and believe me, before I started to run for this, I didn't realize how it was carved up. So it's basically the south side of New London, and those folks that vote at Nathan Hale and there's only one voting station in New London for me.
Okay.
And that would be in Nathan Hale in New London, and then we have the library, which is District 1, West Side.
That's Groton.
Is Groton also, and then Butler is another one of the schools,
so
and then at Fitch. And that covers all the districts. So it's 4 districts in Groton and 1 in New London. So, but it is carved out in a little funny shape. But I think if you voted those places, then hopefully you can come down and vote for me. That's the best way to describe it usually.
Well, hopefully you'll be my representative, because that's Butler Schools where we vote. So
excellent.
I'd like to hear a little bit about your background. You've mentioned you were in New London and in Groton. Tell us a little bit about your experience and how you ended up getting to this point, I guess.
Well, to this point, I got to thank Liz Duart, I think, greatly. She's like my second mom, and kind of poked and prodded. And, I've always been community-oriented. I started coaching basketball when I was 16 years old. I took my father's team over, and basically with a friend, coached it for about 10 years. And then went back to New London and brought my son Joey when he became age to the 9 to 12-year-old division, while still coaching baseball in New London. I had a 3-family house that I renovated and did when I was 21 years old in New London. I bought my first house when I was 21. Never thought I was going to leave New London, like I said. But really,
things happen.
They do happen. And
so does this mean your wife is from Groton?
My wife graduated from Fitch.
Okay.
And she graduated a year before me.
There's a good combining of the two.
It was great. Yeah, it is. She went to school with my cousin. I mean, I have 24 first cousins, 18 of which is still in this area. So we have roots. And anything that we can do to make the town better, that's really why I got involved. Back in 2002, I was just getting kind of my feet wet. I did the RTM from 2002 to 2008, and got to see the budgets and how they work. And although those meetings seem very boring, I think they're very important. And in 2014, I got elected to the council and re-elected in 2016. And to really see how the state has treated us, I think in 2002. When I first ran for the RTM, I recognized the number. It was like, say, $25 million for ECS. And when I came back on in 2000, ECS is called educational cost sharing.
Okay. Everybody doesn't know that.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, so it's
the alphabet soup of politics.
Yeah, a bunch of different. What do they call it? I forget what they say. But in any case, the number was the same as it was in 2002, $25 million for Groton, and I think they basically flatlined us. And I had asked Mark, why does that sound so familiar, Mark Ofinger? And he said, because it's the same number when you were here a long time ago. So, and it's not in Groton's charter, and it's not in New London's charter to educate. It's the state charter. And you know, my concern is they seem like they're trying to get out of the business of educating by just leveling budgets and keeping them flat. And I know there's tough times up at the state, but we have to start figuring out how to get them more involved because you know.
Well, the property tax is not the best way to fund anything.
It's not. And it's driving people out of the town and out of the state. So we have to change that. Yeah.
We're getting a little bit off. I know you called yourself the other day a tin knocker, so you're a tradesman.
I am a tradesman.
You started out as an apprentice?
I did, 1989. Right out of high school, I went to a company and started an HVAC apprenticeship, all ductwork, so they call us tin knockers. Yeah. Well, and then I never left. You know, I remember them asking me if I wanted to sign up for apprenticeship, and I said, "Are you crazy? You think I'm going to be doing this the rest of my life?" And so it's only been 27 years, and I'm still doing it, and happy and proud. I say I'm recently, 10 years ago, I started with another company. It's called Hillary, and they're right across the street here, right in Groton. Very proud to work there, and we do a lot of neat stuff with the Navy and EB. And you know, it's one of those jobs that you just love to do. We do a lot of neat things, and you know, stuff that we can't get to take pictures and show you, but it's a lot of Navy work. But it's very interesting work and you know, very fulfilling. So
I'm a carpenter, and I happen to believe it's important to work with your hands, and I think it's good for government to have people involved that are not just desk people, pencil pushers, and someone who thinks, uses their hands, and is also more closely tied to the economy and what's going on. So that's good. Yep. Anything else we missed?
No, I'm a pencil pusher now, I guess.
Yeah, now you're a pencil pusher. You're
I'm in the office, and my hands aren't dirty.
You haven't forgotten the basics, I'm sure.
Oh no, I still. I'm not that far removed. I do go back out in the shop and work. So.
So you mentioned a little bit about being on the council and what you've learned and how you think that'll help being representative. Anything else you want to talk about that? I know. You know, community leaders find out what the state's doing directly, so the rest of us don't necessarily hear it. So
you don't, and I
think I assume that's going to help you.
I'm sure about that. And after 9 budgets, you go through and you know, you'll run into folks on the street and say, "Geez, it just seems like we're doing this or we're doing that wrong." And I can tell you, a lot of thought goes into almost every move that happens at the level of the town. Even we have those big schools coming through. I mean, Groton has a big decision to come up in this referendum. We have schools. We have this big presidential election. I think there's going to be a great turnout, and I think, I think there will be. But I think Groton in particular has a lot to look for, and being on the council and knowing how we scrutinize our budget. And I think Groton has done a great budget over the last. You know, we're fighting over nickels and dimes in the wee hours of the morning, and that's what happens at these meetings. So. Oftentimes when people come and say, "Geez, you spent this on that," and I say, "We really do dig down. We're not rubber stamping up there. We dig down, and we're fighting to try to keep budgets low. But I think we've gotten down to a critical point, especially in Groton, and you could see with the cuts that we made this past year, they had a huge impact on the town, as far as maybe possibly closing the public library on a Sunday, and those are things I was hoping to avoid. But that's the way the budget came out, and you need to start paying attention."
Yeah. And the town actually works with the committee system, which you're going to do with the legislature too. A lot of the work is done by committees, so you'll have experience with that too to carry with you. So
oftentimes people will say, "Well, geez, it looks like you're just flying through it and approving everything," but it's the committee meetings where all the work happens. So the committee of the whole, we talk about things in nausea, and then everything gets passed because we've already talked about it. But it's for people watching. Sometimes it does seem like it's getting flown through, but it's not. Everything gets talked about. Yeah.
And really, I feel strong the population has to speak up too.
They do.
We have representatives, but you have to tell representatives what the issues are, what the important things are. So
absolutely.
People have to work at it. Do you have any things you'd like to accomplish as a representative?
I do.
What issues are pushing you, I guess?
You know what's funny is because I was happy. I'm happy as a clam on the council. I love doing the work. I love meeting new people. And when I saw, the addiction services that were getting cut in this past budget, and when I started to realize that the way that we were going to fight addiction wasn't the way that I think it should be for, or our group thinks it should be for. We want to see more services. We want to see better ways of getting people out of prison and into the workforce. And that's one of the things that I think I can help change, or at least at the legislative level, give them some anecdotal evidence of how it's not working.
Yeah.
You know, we have folks that, you know, there's a place right up the street where folks get out of prison, and after 8 years, they show up with a, you know, just an ID that has their name on it with no picture or anything. And it's one of those, I consider a hurdle to get someone a job, and didn't realize it existed until we got involved with this addiction work. And I think if we can get those folks back to work and not get them back in prison 2 weeks or a month after they're out, the budget's gonna start to clear itself up a little bit. And that's not the only spot, but to me, it's one of the large areas that I think we can save a lot of money, because it's a double positive. We have someone who's not in prison anymore, but they're also taxpayers again.
Yeah, contributor.
And and also putting pressure on. I think if you look at the federal level, and I won't be able to control anything there, but I do want to start becoming a voice of the state by letting people know that our special education budget, which I completely support. You know, I think that what we do is great work. I love our public education system. The federal government told us that we'd get 50 cents on the dollar back in the 60s, you know, as we took care of folks that needed help. The reality is we got $1 million and we spent $22.5 million last year. So there's some huge shortfalls that I think people don't realize what's affecting our budget. So now we have two branches of government that are kind of mandating our education on us.
And not contributing enough
and they're not
to make it work.
So I think we need to raise our voice a little there. And I think that will make our budget start to look better, take a little bit of the pressure off the property taxes and the increases, because that's where it's all coming from.
Yeah, it's tough for people that don't have increasing incomes to start paying increasing taxes.
It is.
It's a hard one. So there are serious fiscal problems. Everybody knows. There's no secret there. With the state, you have any ideas on how to address some of that? Because that's going to be a big question. I'm sure you're probably already finding that going door to door.
I'm hearing it. Everyone asks, "What are you going to do?" And
I mean, a lot of this goes back a long ways. It's not.
It does.
You know, Malloy, I think, is getting bum rap in some ways because a lot of this stuff is.
The reality is, and this is where maybe my smaller government experience will help me, is, you know, Groton typically funds their OPEB and their, you know, other post-employment benefits, and you know, the union pensions are all fully funded. So when you get to the state level, and people are like very upset with state pensions, and what they don't realize is if they were funded properly, they work, and they are working in Groton. It's something that if you fund it properly. And that, again, we have this big mountain of you know, that hasn't been funded in the last 20 years, not properly, at least by previous governors. Yeah. And how do you solve that? It's like, how do you eat an elephant? You know, it's the one bite at a time thing. It is a big problem. I think, coincidentally, I think our policy with trying to get people back to work and not in prison, I think is going to help that. It's a humongous strain on a budget that we actually don't really know how to account for totally. Yeah. You know, you have folks who are, you know, even with the addiction thing, which we'll talk about later, there's a lot of money and wealth that's being lost because we're not handling it properly, I feel. And I think that could be an area where we could save, and we all know that we need to start investing in our infrastructure, and I think that can be a huge impact on our economy to get people to work with good paying jobs that will allow them to self-sustain and hopefully build their future. Yeah.
Yeah, obviously the jobs thing is a huge problem too. There's, you know, employment has not been as good as it should have been, and it has come back, but it's slow. And any good ideas for that? You mentioned infrastructure, and I firmly believe that we should be fixing some of the things that need fixing, and that would put people to work and get money into the economy. So.
Absolutely, that's always something that we always have the option of fixing our own roads and our own towns and I think if you look at the bridges and the reports that we get on bridges and the amount of work that's going to have to go into the economy, I think that would really, you know, take it's at least the start of the wave. You know, where if we can get some DOT, you know, people or even contractors, that will actually pick everything up, and it's so much work to be done, painting of the bridges, and you can see when you're driving by some of the bridges that don't look good. Yeah. If they don't look good while you're driving by them, I can guarantee
that means they're worse than they look.
If you're climbing up inside and you want to get close, there's work to be done, and I think that would be something that would help us spur it along. Yeah.
Actually, before we get off on the pension issue, do you think anything can be done to save the amount of money that goes into pensions? Because I know that And I guess I'm not knocking state employees and the fact they have benefits, but I think it's an issue because a lot of us don't have much of anything for retirement.
Absolutely.
And I know state workers have done fairly well. Any thoughts about how you can sort of skim that down at all or save some money there?
It's one of those
issues.
I
think that's one of the things that has to be
done. I mean, I'm a union employee myself.
Yeah.
It's not a state union. You know, our pension is based on if you work 30 years, you get $80 per year. Which may sound really good to someone who has zero pension. Mm-hmm. The reality is, in 2037, my pension will be about $2,800 or something like that at the end each month. Yeah. Which will sadly probably be a newspaper subscription and maybe breakfast for one morning or something.
To give up your coffee.
It might be my coffee. So sometimes we have to look deep too and see. I look at the state employees and I know they have these pensions which, some of them are viewed as too large or too this or too that, but really sometimes it's the reality in accounting to me. Like so all the folks that don't have a pension, the truth is there's going to be payments that need to be paid for them. Mm-hmm. And that's the other side of it. So you have maybe Walmart up there, maybe someone's working there for 40 years. And they retire with absolutely nothing. Yeah. Maybe we need to start making them boosted up a little bit because a lot of those numbers get boosted up because the pensions are going towards other folks that have nothing. Yeah. So it's a tough problem, and I think if you look over the last probably 5 or 10 years, the unions have given back a lot. If you look contract wise, even on the town council level, I see when we hire a new officer, they don't have a pension anymore. EB doesn't have pensions anymore, so it seems to be something that's dying, and we're going to find out in 40 years.
That's not the way we should be going, but
we're going to find out in 40 years if that's good or not. Yeah. But my guess is that, I got the perfect view. I'm 45 years old. I look at folks that, like my father's age, that have these unbelievable pensions that will never happen for me. Mm-hmm. And I look at mine, and my pension is going to probably let me survive. I'll have my house paid off, hopefully, and you'll be able to plug along. But then I look at this generation coming up. And I look at
it's going to be tough.
It's despair for them. I mean, people hate those. They hate the thoughts of pensions and they hate the ideas of them sometimes. But the reality is, those 18-year-old kids that are working are one day, very short time too, because I didn't realize how fast 40 years went by until you become 45 and say, what happened? But they'll be looking to retire, and hopefully we can get jobs that like the electric boat. These good paying jobs where these kids can work and they can. And get some kind of a retirement, because I think it's important. It's what drives the economy. Yeah.
You have an opponent.
I do.
Who's an incumbent, Andre Baumgartner. Any things you think you can do better, or any criticisms, or any things that you want to make work better that haven't happened under him?
And I spoke with Andre.
I mean, I don't like negative campaigning, but you need
absolutely.
To make a
what?
difference.
I don't think there's any room for it because. Even once you put your name out there, you realize that people can say hurtful things, and because really, I think all Andre and I are trying to do is try to better our communities. I really believe. I mean, everyone says Andre's a nice guy. It's because he is a nice guy, and I feel like I'm a nice guy. Yep. But the truth of the matter is, he won as a 19-year-old kid, and I think, and he's 22 now, but really, a lot of the things I learned through my life experiences. I've been laid off before. There's been times when you can't afford to put oil in a tank, and you go to the gas station and put $20 in to keep the oil furnace going. There's the stuff the college loans that I go and apply for with my son, and all these different things that put financial pressure and relationship pressure on you. I think that's things that you learn and you bring to legislator when you vote. Yeah. And it's happened at the council a lot of times, like when we do the home heating assistance, the oil. You know
what it's about.
I know what it's about. And it's something I think if you're legislating, it's something not that you need to be 100 years old to do this stuff, but I think his heart's in the right place. I really do, but I think there's a lot of decisions being made that are going to take someone in that dark room, and when the deals are being done, a lot of times you're in this room and they say, hey, we're going to cut $100,000 from Groton. Or $100,000 from the London, either town. I'm not going to have to call Mark and say, hey,
what's that going to do?
What's that going to do to our town? I already know.
Yeah.
I know we can't have any more cuts from the state. We can't be flatlined anymore. And we have to have someone that's gonna fight and know how to fight. And it's not And it's not that Andre doesn't know how to fight, but he does. He certainly can't know the issues as well as I do. It would be impossible for that to be.
So your experience gives you a little bit of an advantage.
I think it does. I honestly do, and you know, because I can right away snap back at somebody and say, well, no, this is the true thing. Because you know, in Hartford, I think they may say, well, you guys have EB and you have Pfizer, you guys are rich. And the reality is, you know, our last council, we actually conducted a study and found that 8 or 10 people leave Groton each day. So we're similar in a way to New London and Hartford, where at the end of the day, there's a great downtown area and there's a great vibrant industry. But at the end of the day, people leave. And I think we're addressing that.
They're not paying taxes in Groton. So.
Not paying taxes in Groton. But on the bright side of that, I mean, you know, there's a lot of millennials at that place in the town, which I'm very excited about. We started a lot of stuff with economic development. So there's folks that are looking into it and trying to figure out what kind of housing they want to build. And what we're finding is there's a huge interest in Groton and New London. There's a lot of millennials who don't want to drive 45 minutes to go to work, and they don't want to mow a lawn. And hopefully that translates into something different for Groton and something like maybe like a city center. And hopefully all that works. I'm very excited about that. So there are some upsides. You know, I am not a doomsday guy. I love Groton. I think we're great.
No, we agree there. Groton has a huge potential, and you just have to find the right little path to get it there. And
absolutely.
I think we're close. This is a little bit redundant, but we talked about the council has given you insight into how state policies affect the local community. Anything else specifically that you are aware of that could be changed?
Oh yeah, like one state policy. They just cut the addiction services and a huge amount of money from Demas, and then claim that just call and you can get help, right? You can call and get help. Well, our group actually experienced. We had a call from a sheriff that came and said, you know, well, we have young kids that normally, you know, get mandated to go to these rehabs because they're 14 years old, they have addiction issues, and they would get a 7-day automatic detox, and the state pays for 90 days. Well, now they said, can your group help us out? Because we're not sure. The state's not going to send people away. And we know, what we know is just like in education, early education is great because you get this big jump start. Well, it works with that way in addiction. Now, this 14-year-old kid that they're going to send back home to mom and dad are not going to know how to deal with it. You know, I know a lot about addiction.
Most of them. Some may, but most of them.
I can tell you this. I feel like I'm an expert at it, and my knees buckle every time I think that we have a problem. They buckle. So it should, to me, that's something that's an early intervention thing that the state should still be funding. But again, as you cut budgets, real things happen to real people, and I actually have a pulse on that. So, you know, when I am voting on things, I realize when you do cut something or you add something, it actually is affecting real people. And I think sometimes people forget that.
I know, it's all numbers.
It's all numbers, and numbers are great.
Philosophy, and you lose track of what it's really about.
Yeah, the things you can make work on paper don't always work.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer government is a good thing, but it has to work efficiently.
It does.
And focus the right spots.
Absolutely.
Any comments about the presidential election? How do you think Trump at the top of the ticket is going to help or hurt?
I actually feel sorry for my Republican friends. I think it's a weight that they probably shouldn't have to carry. I think he's dangerous. I don't like anything he says about anything. I haven't found one policy that I like. I have a lot of.
Well, he did say Iraq was a mistake, and I have to agree with him.
I agree with that.
I have to go with that one, but
I would agree.
I'm
with
not sure he
Iraq
said it at the right
mistake.
time the way he says.
Yeah,
he claims to have done that.
That was a mistake. And the funny thing is, of all the things that he does say, all the offensive things that he says, the one thing that bothers me the most is the fact that he wants to get rid of the federal minimum wage. And a lot of folks up here that I talk to, you know, I'm union, so they're in their union. They say, well, that doesn't affect us, Joe. We have a Connecticut minimum wage, and it's $9.25, so it doesn't matter. Well, Texas has been trying to get special legislation for a decade, even before that, trying to say that the $7.25 is an outrageous number because in Texas, our taxes are so low and our economy is so good that you only need to make about $4 an hour. And the reality is, if you make $7.25 in Texas, you qualify for the earned income tax credit, which comes directly out of us, right out of our anything we contribute up here as someone who's not on that. And folks up here use the earned income tax credit to get themselves to that poverty level, and that's where that brings them. So when people tell me that doesn't matter, it matters. Yeah, it matters. Because they will be sucking up services if we let them get even lower than they are. I think they're a dangerous low level now at $7.25 an hour. They should be way higher than that, and that should be part of the discussion when we talking about raising our rates up here. We should have to include them down there, because they're just going to run up here and say that we're just too expensive, when the reality is we're paying for the people, and that's one thing that I tell everyone at the doors, and I'm proud to say it. Down, and it's nothing against the workers down there, because they're working their 40 hours just like we do, but they need to make more money down there to help contribute.
Yeah. You've talked about it a couple times here. You and your wife, I guess, founded the Community Speaks Out.
Yes.
Working actively for anti-drugs,
Yeah.
against drug addiction. Why don't you talk about that, because I know that's your baby and
It is my passion.
One of your serious interests, and I think it's something good to bring to the legislature too. So
absolutely,
take it away.
Really, what this is kind of what drove me to decide to run.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, very happy at the council, and I actually went into my boss's office and said, well, Nancy, would you support if I ran? Because it does have an impact on my job. There's a couple days a week where I'm gonna have to leave early for a few months, and I'll be able to make up the time, but it's not easy. And she fully supported me, which really, to me, made a big difference.
You're taking kind of a hit as far as pay too, because
you're taking a hit in pay. It's my wife and I have cut back on a bunch of stuff that we were doing and now we're not doing. It's going to be tough, but it's almost feel like you're called to something. And this is one of those cases, because, it's no glory. They're long, boring meetings. I think Andre would be able to tell you that.
No matter what you do, you're doing somebody wrong.
Yeah, no matter what you do, you're hurting somebody's feelings. But I want to get up there because of the addiction issue, kind of pushed me over the edge, because I saw the way that the money was coming down and being spent. I've been to roundtable after roundtable discussion, asking our leaders that are at the Senate level, and just putting it in the air, because they'll ask you, what can you do? What would you do today, Joe? Because you and Tammy are so involved in what would you do today to change this path that we're on? And I tell everyone that if we change the name of Percocet and OxyContin, if Percocet was called heroin level 1 and OxyContin was called heroin level 2, if you walked in with your son or daughter at 15 years old for wisdom teeth, and they said, we're going to give you 2 weeks worth of heroin level 2 pills, that would change the conversation.
People would think about it, yeah.
And not only change the conversation, you'd probably walk away with ibuprofen, most people. Yeah. But they won't do that, and there's no appetite for it. I started a petition to do it. I try to do it in the Groton Town Council. Yeah. At this small level, I think we could do it, but I've been trying to work with Mark and work with our council. And by the way, the town council's been 100% behind me. The previous council was behind me, and this new council, they all understand the problem that it is. Yeah.
It's a huge issue in this region and all around the country.
Well, if you looked at Cincinnati in the paper the other day, they've been having like 173 overdoses a day. Something insane. Something's going through, but that's the wave that's about to happen. And we've been saying it for the last 3 years, and it's finally starting to come up and get the attention it needs. But it really needs to start getting the money that it needs. And hopefully at the legislature, one of the reasons I want to get up there is because I think it's going to save money in the end. Yeah. And our group,
there's a cost to this.
It's a huge cost. And the folks that are part of our group that have lost, when I talk about retirement's gone, people that should be talking about retirement and downsizing are talking about making it. And getting by, and that's not the way it was supposed to work. Right. But that's the way it worked out for them through this disease. And we're helping families every day avoid that stuff, avoid the spending every single dime they have, because we have these little tricks to try to help, and we know what the limits are and what the boundaries are and how much a place will how much they'll go overboard for you. But it's stuff that needs to be learned. And we meet once a month at the Groton Public Library. Okay. We average about 60 members a month. Right in August it was 85 degrees out, and we had 60 people show up to our meeting. We had 80 in January after our vigil, but we average around 60 folks, and sadly it's five new people every month that just found out that their son or daughter or mom or dad or someone in their family got addicted, whether through an accident or recreation, doesn't matter. But 4 out of 5 people that are addicted start with those 2 drugs I just mentioned. Yeah. OxyContin and Percocet.
Glad we got this in, but we're out of time. Thank you very much, Joe. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
I love your passion and your enthusiasm. That's great. That's an important attribute to have when you're doing this, because it is thankless. Really appreciate your participation and the fact that you are running, and good luck. Thank you to the viewers. Appreciate you watching. Get involved. get educated, get out and vote, and be well.